Why do you look like my mommy when she tries not to cry?
The child asked the CEO. Nathan Caldwell had his name carved into an entire hospital wing, but that night he could not get past the waiting room. Rain slid down the glass walls of Boston Children's Hospital, turning the city lights outside into long trembling lines. The lobby was too bright, too clean, too full of quiet panic. Parents sat with paper cups of coffee gone cold. Nurses moved quickly in soft shoes. Somewhere beyond the elevators, a child was crying in the thin, exhausted way children cried when they had run out of strength. Nathan stood near the windows in a charcoal suit that cost more than most people's rent, one hand still holding his phone. The call had ended 3 minutes ago. His sister Claire had developed complications after heart surgery. The doctor had used careful language, stable for now, monitoring closely. Next few hours are critical, which meant there was nothing Nathan could control. That was the part he hated most. Caldwell Medical Systems had supplied diagnostic equipment to half the hospitals in New England. Nathan had donated millions to cardiac research. His company's logo was on a plaque near the entrance, polished so clean it reflected the shoes of frightened families walking past it. But Claire was somewhere upstairs, surrounded by machines he understood better than most people understood their own homes, and all his money could do was buy him a chair to wait in. His assistant stood a few feet away, whispering into a phone. A cardiologist recognized him and nodded too gently. 2 hospital administrators hovered near the information desk, unsure whether to approach the donor or leave the brother alone. Nathan turned toward the glass. He pressed his thumb and forefinger against his eyes. Just once, just long enough to stop the tears before they became visible. But someone saw. Mia Torres was 6 years old, small for her age, wearing red sneakers and a purple hoodie with a stegosaurus on it. A dinosaur pack sat beside her chair, its zipper mouth open as if it too were waiting for news. She had been waiting for her mother's shift to end for 27 minutes. 27 minutes was long enough to eat half a granola bar, arrange 3 plastic dinosaurs by size, and observe that the tall man near the window was doing something adults often did badly. He was trying not to cry. Mia watched him with scientific seriousness. Then she stood, picked up her dinosaur backpack, and walked over. Nathan sensed movement beside him and lowered his hand. The little girl looked up at him. "Why do you look like my mommy when she tries not to cry?" The question hit him harder than the doctor's call. Nathan stared at her, absolutely unprepared. He could handle boardrooms, lawsuits, product recalls, congressional questions, hostile investors. He did not know what to do with a child in dinosaur sneakers who had just named his grief in public. "I'm not sure," he said finally. Mia tilted her head. "My mommy says I'm fine," but her eyes looked like a dinosaur stuck in the rain. Despite everything, a small laugh escaped him. It sounded rusty. What kind of dinosaur? A sad one. Probably a brontosaurus. They have long necks for holding extra feelings. Nathan looked away for a second, because if he kept looking at her solemn little face, he might actually cry. Before he could answer, a woman in navy scrubs hurried across the lobby. Mia Torres, the child turned. Her mother had arrived with the exhausted speed of someone who had spent 12 hours being useful to everyone except herself. Elena Torres still wore her hospital badge clipped to her pocket. Her dark hair was twisted into a loose knot, and there were faint pressure marks on her face from a mask she had worn too long. She stopped when she saw her daughter standing beside Nathan. "I'm so sorry," Elena said quickly. "She's not supposed to bother strangers. She didn't bother me." Elena looked at him properly then. Recognition changed her expression. Not excitement, not admiration, embarrassment. "Oh," she said, "Mr. Caldwell." Mia looked between them. "You know Mr. Almost Crying?" Elena closed her eyes for half a second. Nathan almost laughed again. "Almost." Elena touched Mia's shoulder, gentle but firm. "This is Mr. Nathan Caldwell. His company helps make some of the hospital machines." Mia's eyes widened. "You're the boss of the machines, in a way. Can you fix hearts like machines?" The lobby seemed to fall silent around the question. Nathan's throat tightened, because that was exactly what he had spent his life trying to believe, that if he built better devices, funded better labs, hired better doctors, managed better risks, then the people he loved would stop being fragile. But Claire's heart did not care how many patents he owned. "No," he said softly, "I wish I could." Elena began to pull Mia back. "Sweetheart, that's enough." "It's all right," Nathan said. He lowered himself into one of the lobby chairs so he was closer to Mia's height. The movement surprised his assistant, who took a half step forward before thinking better of it. Nathan looked at the child. "How do you know when your mom is trying not to cry?" Mia considered this as if asked to explain advanced paleontology. "Kids know when adults lie with their faces." Elena's cheeks flushed. Nathan glanced at her. For the first time, he noticed the strain under her composure, the careful posture, the tired eyes. The woman who had probably told her daughter, "I'm fine," so many times the child had turned it into evidence. Before anyone could say more, a hospital employee approached Nathan quickly, lowering his voice. "Mr. Caldwell, press are downstairs. They're asking about Caldwell Medical Systems and the pricing investigation. If anyone sees you here like this, they may connect it to your sister." Nathan's face changed by instinct. The CEO returned first, shoulders straight, jaw set, eyes drying before they could betray him. Elena saw it happen. So did Mia. The employee continued, anxious. If the reporters caught him crying in the lobby, Claire's condition could become a headline before the family had even understood what was happening. Nathan looked toward the elevators. He could leave, hide upstairs, return to the private waiting room reserved for donors and board members, become the controlled man everyone expected. Instead, Mia unzipped her backpack and pulled out a crumpled tissue printed with tiny green dinosaurs. She held it out. "Dinosaurs are good for emergencies." Nathan looked at the tissue, then at Elena, who seemed caught between apology and something softer. He took it. "Thank you," he said. Then he sat back down, not in the private room, beside the little girl with the dinosaur backpack and the mother who looked like she had been holding herself together for years. For the first time that night, Nathan Caldwell did not feel powerful. But he did not feel completely alone either. Nathan saw Elena again 3 days later in the diagnostic wing. Claire was still recovering upstairs, stable but exhausted, and Nathan had learned that hospitals had their own kind of time. Minutes stretched during test results. Hours vanished during doctor rounds. Entire mornings disappeared into waiting rooms where everyone held coffee like medicine. He was leaving the cardiac unit when he noticed Elena through the open doorway of an ultrasound room. She was working with a little boy no older than 4, guiding the child's nervous mother through the scan with a voice so calm it made the room feel less frightening. Elena moved with quiet confidence. Warm gel, steady hand, soft explanations, eyes always watching the patient before the machine. Nathan had seen millions of dollars worth of equipment in that hospital, but Elena was the first person that week who made technology look gentle. Then her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it only long enough for Nathan to see her face change. Not much, just enough. She turned the screen down and smiled at the child again. Nathan knew that kind of smile, the kind adults used when something inside them had cracked, but someone smaller was watching. Later in the cafeteria, he found Mia at a table with a plastic dinosaur wearing a bandage made from a napkin. "This is Dr. Rohr," Mia informed him. Nathan, who had once negotiated a billion-dollar acquisition without blinking, solemnly shook the dinosaur's tiny plastic hand. Mia studied him. "You're less scary than most adults with shiny shoes. I'll take that as progress." "You should. Last time you were level 2, sad." Nathan sat across from her before realizing he had been invited only by a 6-year-old and a dinosaur. Physician. Elena arrived a minute later carrying coffee, a banana, and the expression of someone who had not sat down long enough for her body to believe in chairs. She stopped when she saw them. Mia pointed at Nathan. He shook Dr. Rohr's hand. Elena looked at him. Brave. Rohr has high standards. Nathan almost smiled. They spoke cautiously at first. Elena was polite but guarded, the way hospital staff learned to be around donors. Nathan asked about her work, and she answered with professional modesty until Mia interrupted to announce that her mother was the best at finding baby hearts on screens. That embarrassed Elena more than the compliment deserved. Nathan learned she had once planned to continue school, maybe become a diagnostic physician assistant, maybe more. But then came marriage, Mia, divorce, rent, insurance, shifts, and the kind of life where dreams did not disappear dramatically. They were simply rescheduled until no one remembered the original date. Elena spoke of it without self-pity. That made Nathan want to help. The impulse rose in him, clean and immediate. Tuition support, rent relief, childcare, a scholarship fund. A phone call to someone who could make several problems smaller by noon. He did not get halfway through the thought before Elena saw it on his face. "No, I didn't say anything. You were about to look generous." "I have a generous face. You have a face that says a committee is being formed around my life." Mia leaned over her notebook. "Mommy is level 3 now." Tina looked down. Mia had drawn a purple marker titled, "Adults Almost Crying." Level 1 says, "I'm fine too fast." Level 2 looks out windows for too long. Level 3 drinks coffee without blinking. Level 4 holds bills like bombs. Nathan found his name under Level 2. Elena's name was under Level 4. Neither adult knew what to say. Then Elena laughed first, small and unwilling. Nathan followed, and for a moment the table held something almost normal. The moment did not last. That evening Ryan arrived late to pick up Mia. He came through the lobby with a guitar case over one shoulder, hair damp from rain, apology already prepared. He had missed Mia's school performance that afternoon, again. He said rehearsal ran long, then traffic, then his phone died. The excuses came out like songs he had played too often. Mia stood beside Elena, holding Dr. Rohr against her chest. She did not cry. That seemed to hurt Elena more. Ryan noticed Nathan before he finished apologizing. His posture changed. Shame became defensiveness. Defensiveness became accusation. He asked whether this was the reason Elena had been too busy to remind him about the performance. Whether she was shopping for a richer father for Mia now. Whether a man with hospital wings named after him made her feel more secure. Nathan stepped forward by instinct. Elena's hand lifted slightly. Not here, not for me. She did not need his rescue. She needed room to speak. So Nathan stopped. Elena faced Ryan without raising her voice. She told him he could be Mia's father by showing up on time, by remembering school events, by calling when he promised. He did not get to turn his absence into jealousy just because another adult happened to be present. Ryan looked wounded. But underneath the anger was something weaker, fear that he was being replaced because he had made himself unreliable. He left with Mia for dinner, late and awkward, and Elena watched them go with the face of a woman trying not to break in public. A call came as she turned away. Her landlord. Nathan saw her shoulders stiffen before she answered. He heard only fragments. Overdue balance. Notice filed. Partial payment by Friday. Eviction process. Elena ended the call slowly. The cafeteria noise faded around them. Nathan's whole body reached for the solution. He could pay it, all of it, quietly. Through a trust, a foundation, a hospital employee emergency fund. There were so many ways to make money invisible if one had enough of it. Elena, let me. No. This time the word was sharper. He stopped. Her eyes flashed, tired and bright. She told him he did not understand what it felt like to be seen as a problem waiting for a rich person to solve. He did not understand how quickly help could become a story other people used against you. Single mother saved by CEO. Poor woman rescued by donor. Technician who caught a billionaire's pity in the hospital cafeteria. Nathan absorbed the words, each one landing where he had not known he was careless. Mia had returned briefly, having forgotten Dr. Rohr's medical license. A crayon-covered card on the table. She heard enough. She looked between them. If help makes mommy mad, she asked, is it still help? Neither adult answered. Because the question was too honest. Nathan looked at Elena then, really looked, not at the debt, not at the threat, not at the logistics he could erase. At her, a mother holding herself upright with pride, exhaustion, and fear. He put his phone away. What do you want me to do? He asked. Elena's expression faltered. For once, he had not offered an answer before hearing the need. She looked down at her hands. Don't fix it, she said quietly. Just don't look at me like I'm failing. Nathan felt the sentence settle somewhere deep. So he did the only thing she had asked. He stayed. Not as a donor, not as a savior, not as the boss of machines. Just a man learning that sometimes love began with the discipline of not reaching for power. And Elena, still frightened and still proud, let herself sit beside him for one quiet minute without pretending she was fine. Claire Caldwell improved slowly, which was good news for everyone except Nathan's nervous system. Her heart rhythm stabilized. Her color returned. The doctor spoke with more confidence, but Nathan behaved as if recovery were a hostile merger that required hourly oversight. He reviewed medication schedules. He asked 3 different nurses the same question in slightly different language. He checked the monitors. So often Claire threatened to name one of them his new girlfriend. By the 4th day, she had enough strength to glare. You're not visiting me, she said. You're auditing my pulse. Nathan looked genuinely wounded. Elena, who had stepped in to deliver an imaging report, tried very hard not to smile. Claire pointed weakly at her brother. Please tell him I am a person and not a cardiac spreadsheet. Nathan opened his mouth. Elena gave him a look. He closed it. Later in the hallway, Elena explained what hospital staff understood and anxious families often forgot. Patients needed excellent care, yes, but they also needed to feel they had not become a chart with hair. Claire needed a brother who would sit beside her and ask whether she wanted water, not a CEO trying to outthink the cardiology department. Nathan listened with visible discomfort. That became his new form of progress. He began practicing. He entered Claire's room without immediately reading the monitor. He asked if she wanted company. He let her complain about the food without trying to call a nutrition consultant. The first time he sat for 10 full minutes doing nothing but holding her hand, Claire whispered that she might nominate Elena for sainthood. Elena heard about this from Mia, who had begun treating the hospital cafeteria like a diplomatic meeting ground. Mia liked Nathan now, partly because he had once shaken hands with Dr. Rohr, and partly because he took dinosaur-related protocol seriously. She asked him to help build a model for her school presentation, The Emotional Lives of Dinosaurs. Nathan approached the project with alarming seriousness. He arrived with glue, miniature plants, a foam volcano, and a printed project timeline. Mia stared at the timeline. This is why adults get sad. Elena laughed so hard she had to sit down. They built the model over 3 evenings at a cafeteria table between Elena's shifts and Nathan's visit to Claire. The volcano leaned left. The Triceratops wore a tiny paper scarf. Nathan accidentally glued a Stegosaurus to his cuff, and Mia informed him he had been chosen by science. Something softened between Nathan and Elena during those evenings. Not quickly. It lived in small things. The way he saved her the least terrible coffee from the cafeteria machine. The way she corrected his dinosaur facts with mock severity. The way he looked at Mia when she spoke, as if every word deserved room. Then came the elevator. They were carrying the dinosaur model to Elena's car when the elevator shuddered between floors and stopped. For 12 minutes, Nathan Caldwell, who had negotiated with senators and survived hostile boardrooms, was trapped with a 6-year-old, a foam volcano, and a woman he was trying very hard not to fall in love with. Mia pressed the emergency button with great authority. Then she looked between the 2 adults. If you're going to love each other, don't do it near buttons. It's distracting. Elena turned scarlet. Nathan stared at the ceiling like it might offer legal protection. When the doors finally opened, neither of them spoke for a full minute. But after that, Elena began to notice she was waiting for him. Not for his money, not for his power, not for rescue. For the quiet way he had begun asking, before helping. That frightened her, more than any check he could have written. Nathan was afraid, too. He worried that Elena and Mia felt like warmth only because Claire's illness had made his world cold. He worried that he was leaning toward them not because he was ready to love, but because they gave him somewhere softer to stand while his sister healed. Then the rumors began. Caldwell Medical Systems was already under pressure over device pricing. A few reporters noticed Nathan's frequent presence at the hospital. Someone mentioned Elena's name online. A gossip account suggested the CEO had become unusually close to a hospital technician while his company faced scrutiny. The words were small at first, then they spread. Ryans saw them. He arrived at Elena's apartment one evening with anger wrapped around fear. He said a court would not appreciate her bringing a powerful man into Mia's life so quickly. He said Nathan had lawyers, money, influence. He said it as if Elena had invited a weapon into their family. Elena did not tell Nathan. She simply slept badly and worked the next day with a headache behind her eyes. That afternoon, Mia's school called. A severe asthma attack after the performance rehearsal. Ryan had been late again. Mia had panicked when she could not find either parent in the auditorium. By the time Elena reached the hospital, Mia was already on oxygen, small and frightened beneath a dinosaur blanket. Nathan arrived minutes later. He saw Elena's face, Mia's breathing, the crowded hallway, and all his old instincts roared awake. Private room, pulmonology specialist, faster consultation, better equipment, call someone, move things, fix it. Elena heard him begin and turned on him in the hallway. Her voice was low but fierce. Mia was not an emergency opportunity for him to prove he could repair everything. Elena did not need a powerful man turning her fear into a campaign. Her daughter was struggling to breathe, and the last thing Elena needed was to feel poor beside a billionaire with solutions. Nathan flinched. He had been trying to help, but for once he understood that trying was not enough. He stopped. His phone was already in his hand. He turned it face down and put it away. "What do you need from me right now?" he asked. Elena's anger cracked around the question. She pointed to Mia's dinosaur backpack, lying on the chair where a nurse had dropped it. "Hold that," she said, her voice shaking. "And don't make me feel poor while my child can't breathe." So Nathan held the backpack. He sat outside the exam room with green dinosaur straps across his knees like the most important responsibility in the world. He did not call a board member. He did not demand special treatment. He did not turn Elena's terror into a system. He waited. When Mia stabilized, Elena came out exhausted, her face pale. Nathan stood, still holding the backpack. Claire, weak but walking with assistance, had come down the hall with a nurse. She saw her brother there, helpless and present, clutching a child's dinosaur bag as if it were sacred. For the first time in days, she smiled. "You look like my brother," she said softly, "not the CEO." Nathan looked at Elena. Elena looked back. And in that quiet hallway, neither of them was fixed. But something between them had changed. He was learning. The photo went online before Elena finished her morning coffee. It showed Nathan Caldwell sitting in a hospital hallway, still in his expensive suit, holding Mia's dinosaur backpack on his knees. His head was slightly bowed. The green straps hung over his hands like something fragile and sacred. By noon, the headline had spread through every gossip account in Boston. Medical CEO finds comfort in single mom at corporate scandal. Some articles pretended to be sympathetic. Others were not so careful. They mentioned Elena's overdue rent, her divorce from Ryan, her job at the hospital, and Nathan's company investigation, as if her private life were evidence in a case no one had asked to try. One sentence made her feel physically sick. Sources suggest the hospital technician has become unusually close to the billionaire during a vulnerable time. Unusually close. As if she had planned her daughter's asthma attack. As if Nathan holding a dinosaur backpack was a strategy. As if a tired mother could not stand beside a frightened man without the world pricing her intentions. At work, the whispers changed shape when she entered a room. Some colleagues looked sorry for her. Some looked curious. A few looked disappointed in the way people did when they had already enjoyed the rumor, but wanted to appear kind afterward. Her landlord called twice before lunch, not to ask if she was all right, to remind her that public attention did not pause eviction paperwork. Ryan arrived furious that afternoon. He had seen the articles, and his shame came out dressed as accusation. He said Elena was making him look replaceable. He said Mia did not need a billionaire in her life. He said she would talk to a lawyer if Elena kept bringing Nathan around their daughter. That evening, Mia came home quiet. A boy at school had said her mother was dating a hospital billionaire. Mia had asked if love was like buying insurance. Because grown-ups kept talking about it like paperwork. Elena held her daughter on the couch and felt an anger so deep it had no easy place to go. Nathan's first response was predictable. He wanted to pay the rent balance, hire Elena a lawyer, have his communications team correct the stories, sue anyone who had printed her name beside a lie. Elena stopped him before he could turn her pain into a command center. If he paid her debts now, every article would look true to people who already wanted to believe it. If he hired her lawyer, Ryan would say she had brought power into a custody dispute. If he crushed the tabloids, she would become the woman a CEO had to protect with money. She did not need silence bought for her. She needed the truth protected without being purchased. Nathan listened. Not easily, but he listened. At Caldwell Medical Systems, the board was less patient. The company was already under scrutiny for diagnostic equipment pricing. Investors were nervous. Hospitals were asking questions. The scandal with Elena gave reporters exactly what they wanted. A personal distraction wrapped around a corporate issue. The board urged Nathan to step away from her publicly. They drafted a statement describing the photograph as a misunderstood hospital interaction. No personal relationship. No preferential treatment. Respect for privacy. Clean, safe, cowardly. Nathan stared at the statement for a long time. Claire, still recovering, read it from her hospital bed after he brought it to her, because he claimed he wanted feedback, and she accused him of wanting absolution. She looked paler than usual, but her voice was sharp. If he let Elena be thrown to the press to protect the stock price, she said, he would become exactly the kind of man who hid behind polished words while other people bled in public. Nathan folded the statement. The next day, he stood at a press conference meant to address Caldwell's pricing practices. Behind him were Chart's legal counsel and 3 executives who looked as if they had personally swallowed a spreadsheet. For the first 15 minutes, Nathan answered questions about device costs, hospital contracts, and the independent review his company had resisted for too long. Then a reporter near the front lifted her hand. She asked whether Elena Torres had received money, housing assistance, legal support, or other favors from him in exchange for her silence or companionship. The room sharpened. At the hospital, Elena watched the live stream from a staff break room with one hand over her mouth. Nathan could have dodged. He could have repeated the prepared line. He could have turned her into a footnote and moved on. Instead, he set both hands on the podium. He said Elena Torres was not a scandal. She was not a distraction. She was not a poor single mother in need of a billionaire's pity, and he would not allow her name to be used as a smokescreen for the real issue. The room went still, he continued. Caldwell Medical Systems had questions to answer about pricing transparency. Those questions would not be buried under gossip about a hospital employee who had done nothing except protect her child and treat him like a human. Being on one of the worst nights of his life, he announced an independent pricing audit, public reporting on hospital contracts, and a support fund for small hospitals struggling to access diagnostic equipment. The fund would be overseen externally. It would not carry Elena's name. It would not be turned into romance, apology, or advertising. In the break room, Elena lowered her hand. For the first time since the photo leaked, she could breathe. But peace did not last. Ryan appeared at the hospital that evening, angry and embarrassed, with Mia standing behind Elena clutching Dr. Rohr. He accused Nathan of trying to buy his family. His voice rose in the lobby, drawing nurses, visitors, and security glances. Mia began to cry. That was when Elena changed. She did not look at Nathan for rescue. She did not step behind him. She faced Ryan herself. She told him he was Mia's father, and no one could buy that away from him. But fatherhood was not a title he could defend only when another man made him feel threatened. It was school performances remembered. Inhalers packed. Calls returned. Promises kept. If Ryan wanted to be Mia's father, there would be a written schedule, therapy-supported co-parenting, and real accountability. If he did not want that, he had to stop using Mia as proof of his wounded pride. Nathan stood beside her, silent, present, not taking over. For once, Ryan had no rich rival to fight, only the shape of his own absence. His anger drained slowly, leaving fear behind. He looked at Mia, really looked, and said nothing for a long moment. Then he nodded once and left without another accusation. Later, Elena found Nathan near the elevators. She thanked him. Then she asked for space, not forever, just enough for Mia's world to quiet down. Enough to make sure whatever existed between them did not grow only because everything around them was on fire. Nathan's face tightened, but he agreed. No argument, dramatic promise, no expensive solution. 2 days later, a small package arrived for Mia. Inside was a tiny dinosaur model, painted green, with a note in Nathan's handwriting, for emergencies not replacements. Elena read it twice. Then she cried, not because Nathan had fixed anything, because he had finally understood what not to touch. A few months later, Elena was still in her apartment, not because Nathan had paid the rent, because she had sat across from a housing mediator, shown every receipt, every late notice, every extra shift she had taken, and negotiated a repayment plan she could actually survive. The free legal support came through a community program the hospital had recommended. Nathan did not call the lawyer. He did not cover the balance through a foundation. He did not make the crisis disappear behind her back. But later, Caldwell Medical Systems funded the same legal support program for all low-income hospital employees who needed help with housing, custody, debt, or medical bills. Transparent, independent, no cameras, no Elena Torres story attached. That mattered most. Claire recovered slowly but stubbornly. She returned to teaching art part-time and announced that Nathan had improved from CEO Control Level 5 to Worried Brother Level 2. Nathan accepted the rating with suspicious pride. Mia continued her emotional classification system. Nathan's title changed too. He was no longer Mr. Almost crying. After careful observation, Mia promoted him to Mr. Can cry if he needs to. Elena said the name was too long. Mia replied that complicated feelings needed complicated names. The next time Elena saw Nathan properly was at a small hospital art exhibit. Claire had helped young patients paint what courage looked like. Some paintings showed superheroes, some showed nurses. One showed a pizza slice with angel wings, which Mia declared medically important. Mia's painting showed a green dinosaur standing between two adults, holding out a tissue, the title Emergency Feelings. Nathan stood before it for a long time. Elena stood beside him. There were no photographers, no board members, no scandal. Only the hum of hospital lights, children's artwork, and the strange peace of not needing to explain themselves to anyone. Nathan did not bring jewelry. He did not offer a new apartment. He did not ask her to let him fix what was still hard. He simply asked if she would have dinner with him. A real dinner, no emergency, no public relations crisis, no solution disguised as romance. Elena looked at him carefully. And if I cry during dinner? Nathan put his hands in his pockets, as if preventing them from reaching for a phone, a plan, or a professional. I won't call a specialist, he said. I won't create an emotional response chart. I won't buy the restaurant. She almost smiled. I'll hand you a tissue, he said, and sit still. Elena laughed then, soft and real. Yes, she said, dinner. Later that evening, they passed through the same lobby where Mia had once found Nathan trying not to cry. Claire walked by with a sketchbook tucked under her arm. She looked at Nathan and tilted her head. Your eyes are red. Months ago, he would have denied it. This time, he only nodded. Mia reached into her backpack and handed him a dinosaur tissue. For emergencies, she said. Nathan took it. No shame, no performance, no turning away from the glass. Elena watched him hold that ridiculous little tissue like something sacred, and her heart softened in a way that no rescue could have earned. Their love had not begun when Nathan wanted to save her. It began when a child saw him trying not to cry. And it grew when he finally learned that being seen in his weakness did not make him less powerful. It made him human. If I were Elena, I think the hardest part would not be accepting love. It would be believing that love does not always come with a hidden cost. After being disappointed, judged, and forced to survive alone for so long, I might also mistake independence for safety. I might push away help before finding out whether it is control or kindness. But Elena's lesson is beautiful. Being strong does not mean never needing anyone. Sometimes strength is saying, "Stand beside me, but don't take my voice." If I were Nathan, I might think love means fixing everything quickly. Pay the debt, call the doctor, hire the lawyer, move the obstacle. But Nathan had to learn something deeper. Not every pain is asking to be solved. Some pain is asking to be witnessed. So here is the question for you. Would you let someone love you if they were still learning how not to rescue you? Or would you walk away to protect your dignity? If this story touched your heart, share your thoughts in the comments. This is Soul-Stirring Stories. Real love does not turn your tears into weakness. It does not turn your pain into a project. And it does not make you feel small for needing someone. Sometimes real love is just a person sitting beside you with a ridiculous dinosaur tissue, saying nothing grand at all, only staying long enough for you to believe you are no longer alone.